So here's a big question. How does any organization, your company, my company, really know if it's on the right track? I mean, it's a huge deal because at the end of the day, what you measure is what you get, right? Let's get into it. Think about it. If you're only looking at one single thing, say quarterly profit, how can you possibly see the whole picture? It's not just misleading, it can be downright dangerous. So today we're going to unpack how the most successful organizations build this comprehensive, forward-looking view of their own performance.
You know, for the longest time, the whole idea of control in a business was seen in this really systematic, almost robotic way. This quote from Douglas Sherwin kind of sums it up perfectly. It's all about making sure your operations stick to the plan. And yeah, that sounds logical, but we're about to see why that old model all by itself just doesn't fly anymore.
All right, so here's the game plan. First, we'll talk about the big problem with old metrics, what I call driving with the rearview mirror. Then we'll look at the solution, the balanced scorecard. From there, we'll dive into how you actually make improvements with total quality management. Then we'll put it all together into a complete ecosystem, including finance and risk. And finally, we'll see how this whole thing shifts your mindset from simple control to real powerful strategy.
Okay, first up, the core problem. Relying only on those traditional financial numbers, well, that's like trying to drive a car down the highway by looking only in the rearview mirror. You can see where you've been, sure, but you have no idea what's coming.
And this really breaks it down for us. You've got lagging indicators on one side. These are your financials, your ROI. They tell you what happened. They're your report card on the past. And on the other side, you have leading indicators. These are things like customer satisfaction, on-time delivery, the stuff that actually helps you predict what's going to happen. You need both, but to steer the ship, you gotta be looking forward.
So to build a better system, just think of it like this. You've got 3 different kinds of tools. There's feed-forward control. That's all about preventing problems before they even start. Then you've got concurrent control, which is your real-time fix-it tool. And finally, feedback control is looking back at what happened to learn from it. A really great system uses all 3 of these together.
So how in the world do you balance all this? Well, that is exactly where the balanced scorecard comes in. It was designed specifically to fix this problem of only looking at financial numbers and to give managers a much more complete picture of the whole business. And this analogy is just perfect. Seriously, would you get on a plane if you knew the pilot was only looking at the fuel gauge? No way. You'd want them checking the altitude, the airspeed, the heading, the whole dashboard. A single financial number is just one dial. A modern business needs that full cockpit view to navigate through all the turbulence.
The balanced scorecard creates that full dashboard by looking at things from 4 different angles. Now, the financial perspective is still there. That's your lagging indicator telling you how you did. But the other 3, this is where the magic happens. How our customers see us, how good our internal processes are, and our ability to innovate and learn, those are the leading indicators that actually drive future financial success. That's the big secret.
And this balanced approach is the perfect antidote to something called sub-optimization. You've probably seen this happen. It's when one team hits their target, say they cut costs like crazy, but in doing so, they totally wreck quality or customer service. The scorecard forces you to see those trade-offs and make smart decisions for the whole company, not just one little piece of it.
Okay, so the balanced scorecard gives us the map. It tells us where we want to go. But how do you actually get there? How do you improve those customer and internal metrics? Well, that's where Total Quality Management, or TQM, comes into play. Think of it as the engine that actually powers all that continuous improvement.
The really huge idea behind TQM, championed by these absolute legends like Deming, Juran, and Crosby, is this radical change in mindset. It's not about having inspectors at the end of the assembly line catching mistakes. No, it's about redesigning the entire system so that those mistakes never even happen in the first place.
Now, these 3 pioneers had slightly different takes, but they all fit together. Deming was the data guy. He was all about using stats to improve the system. Juran, he insisted that quality has to come from the top. It's a leadership responsibility. And Crosby, I love his take. He famously said that quality is free. It's the lack of quality, the rework, the waste, the angry customers. That's what's actually costing you a fortune.
So let's make this super practical with Deming's famous cycle. Plan, do, check, act. Imagine you run a burger joint. First you plan, you survey customers and find out they want juicier burgers. Then you set up new cooking stations. But then you check. You notice that during lunch rush there are huge lines. You've created a bottleneck. So you act. You tweak the station layout to speed things up. And then you do it all over again. It's a constant loop of getting better.
Now, we've talked a lot about the limits of just using financial metrics, but let's be crystal clear. Solid financial controls are still the absolute bedrock of any healthy business. It's all about bringing these different pieces together into one complete ecosystem.
Look, we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater here. These core financial tools, your budgets, your income statements, your profitability ratios, these are like the vital signs of the business. Sometimes a dip in sales is the very first red flag that you have a quality problem, long before you see it in a customer survey. So these tools are absolutely essential.
But this leads us to a really fascinating and critical question. There's this story about an electronics company that totally nailed it. They improved quality, they improved delivery times, they hit all their operational goals, and yet their stock price fell. So why? What is the missing link between doing things right and actually making money?
A lot of the time, that missing link is risk management. This is where you proactively look down the road for what could go wrong, for what could totally derail all your hard work. You identify threats, you figure out how bad they could be, and you make a plan to deal with them. It's basically about future-proofing all those gains you're making.
But here's the catch. Even risk management has its limits. There's this dangerous trap called the illusion of control. It's when you get so comfortable with your risk models, which are all built on data from the past, that you become completely blind to some new, crazy threat you've never seen before. People call these black swans. And that false sense of security can make you drop your guard right when you need it most.
Okay, so let's land the plane here. We've gone through all these different pieces. What's the big idea? What's the one thing you should take away from all of this? The ultimate takeaway is this. Great management is not about finding that one magic number to track. It's about building a balanced ecosystem where everything works together. The big picture view of the balanced scorecard, the improvement engine of TQM, the solid foundation of your financials, and that protective layer of risk management. When you do that, you shift from just controlling things to truly driving strategy. So I'm going to leave you with this final question to chew on. For your own job, your own company. Are you measuring what truly matters for creating value in the long run? Or are you just measuring what's easy to count? What kind of hidden opportunities or what overlooked risks might a more balanced view show you?